Hey, post-edit Todd here. I did not realize while I was making this video how many grifters there are out there actually trying to sell dating event services. If you're interested in me doing a complete dive on that, please let me know. I already recorded the video, now in the middle of editing it, but let me know what you think. Now let's get on with today's video.
I just want to invite you to an exciting event. We're having a singles night.
I love these events. I actually take a lot of clients to these events. I think they're great.
One of my personal favorites is Pitch a Friend, where people give short, funny PowerPoint presentations pitching a single friend.
It's all women.
Why do you think men don't go to these things?
For several years, we've been hearing that men don't show up to dating events. And at this point, it's just complaining to me because no one is properly discussing why men avoid them in the first place. They're just trying to force men into these situations and then belittling them when they don't attend.
Every single guy was 5'6" or under, and there was not one cute guy.
And we could find hundreds more just like that. There are no men at these events. Some planners and establishments are even organizing around it now, trying to figure out how to get men to actually show up. But here's what they're ignoring.
What happened tonight? Oh my gosh.
Is going to be a large majority of women because women value relationships in a way that men don't.
I brought him to this event. We were just having general chit chat for about a minute and a half, and then I just asked her, I said, hey, how are you finding your first event at this singles event? And she goes, are you serious? Do you not hear what I said? And she goes, you clearly don't listen to people. I told you how many times I've been to these events. She goes, no, you're just clearly not a very observational type of person.
I talked to the three women I wanted to talk to. So yeah, one of them I talked to, and it was really abundantly clear that she wasn't interested in a chat. I gave it a go. She just walked away. The second one, I don't even really remember how that went. I don't think I even bothered talking to her, to be honest. We talked for like maybe 1 minute, and then she just literally was like, hey, enjoy the rest of your night.
Men are not avoiding these events because they're antisocial. They're avoiding them because the environment works directly against how men actually operate socially. So today I'll be discussing this through several well-established concepts from social psychology, including personality trait differences like extroversion and agreeableness, along with social risk and rejection dynamics and how group structures shape behaviors in public and social settings. And just maybe, event organizers and women will finally start to understand how these pieces all interact, so men's absence starts to make a lot more sense.
It's annoying that we have to cater to the straight men.
Do you not hear what I said?
So come on, guys. What the hell is wrong with you? Why aren't you doing what we want you to and expect you to do? Listen, explanations for men's absence from dating events almost always falls back to the same basic assumptions, that men are less social, that they don't want to put themselves out there, or maybe even that they're intimidated by women or the environments themselves. But men every day are active in corner bars or pubs, on dating apps. They're in their own social circles. They have their own hobby type gatherings and many other everyday environments where interaction isn't forced or compressed. So the issue isn't that men are avoiding women or avoiding social situations altogether. It's that they're selectively avoiding a very specific type of environment that does not align with how they naturally engage. So let's talk about that broken format. Singles events tend to follow a very specific structure, and that structure does three things all at the same time. It forces a ground zero of sorts, so everyone is treated as equal, regardless of real-world advantages or disadvantages, as it were. It forces interaction by design rather than letting it develop naturally. And it squeezes rejection into a short window in which men are being evaluated repeatedly back to back. When all three of those exist at the same time, we end up with an environment in which it's operating directly against how men typically function in social situations, because it removes control, it limits their differentiation, and it turns each interaction into a rapid, high-pressure evaluation. Let's talk a little bit about social mismatch here. When we look more closely at personality research, the difference isn't that one gender is social and the other is not. It's that they experience and respond to different types of social interactions and environments very differently. For example, women tend to be more connective, such as leaning toward conversation and facing each other and cooperative in their interactions. While men, on the other hand, they tend to be more socially assertive and competitive and being next to each other rather than in front of each other. They're often focusing on positioning, initiation, and looking for their own unique advantage, especially when in a group. So when environments are built around constant conversation and evaluation, that's not creating a space for men that brings out their comfort levels. Instead, it's more in line with female typical social patterns while removing the conditions that men are more likely to engage with. So here's what it looks like for a lot of guys. For many of them, this is what the events actually feel like. They walk in alone. They're expected to initiate over and over in a matter of an hour or so. They're being rapidly evaluated within seconds of coming within eyesight, and then they reset and do it all over again for as long as they dare to be there. So there's very little time to build anything because each interaction turns into a quick judgment cycle where they're constantly performing and being compared. And the real guys, the genuine guys, don't want to go through that performance. They're just not going to. Which then makes it feel less like socializing and more like a performance environment, as I mentioned, that they must sustain the entire time that they're there. Let's add another layer here, because this is not entirely about the environment itself. It's also about how men are expected to operate, especially men with masculinity, which conflicts with their traits like confidence and assertiveness. Men are generally expected to figure things out on their own. Many of them prefer to, and that includes meeting women without scripts or assistance. So, when a guy considers whether to attend an event, there's an underlying masculine stigma at play because they create the impression that guys are relying on something or someone that they're supposed to handle independently. And that alone is enough to filter out a lot of men before they even think about attending. So now let's compare that to how women experience these events because it's completely different from men. Women often go to these events with one or more friends. So the night already works as a social outing of sorts, or even a girls' night out before anything even happens. And instead of needing to initiate constantly, they can sit back, they can observe, and wait to be approached in a group with their friends. And that social expectation changes the entire dynamic for guys because even if no connection is made, the experience still has an impact. In fact, that women do show up in pairs or in groups is doing themselves a huge disservice. Ladies, stop doing that. Let's go just a little bit deeper on that imbalance. That group imbalance is the part that women and event creators miss. That is not just about how many men and women attend, it's about how they're actually entering and interacting once they do get there. As I mentioned, women tend to arrive in pairs or in groups already socially anchored, while men are far more likely to arrive alone. And that means the situation is not just imbalanced by gender social expectations, it's a disparity of sorts in how interaction plays out, if any interaction plays out at all. From a guy's perspective, you think you're approaching an individual woman, but the truth is you're stepping into an existing social group, which immediately raises the challenge, the pressure, and the barriers to entry in ways that women and event organizers still have yet to understand or anticipate. So let's talk about the concept of making these events free for guys.
We are spending so much money on paid ads. Guys, it is pulling teeth. If you know any straight men in any cities, I'm paying $50 per man you find.
I mean, hell, guys, what's wrong with you? Boys like girls. Why aren't boys coming to see girls? And that's about the depth of experience and understanding that women and these event organizers have capacity, I guess, to understand. Why aren't guys coming here? They like girls, right? So why doesn't making it free work for guys? These event creators assume that the fix is simple, right? Just to make it free, and then men will show up to meet a hot chick that they've promised to be there. It's that simple, right? But we already know that that does not work because that approach completely ignores men's non-financial cost of attendance. So the issue is not financial. I mean, any guy who really wants to meet a girl and start a relationship is more than willing to shell out a cover charge of $10 or even $50 plus a couple of beers or cokes to have that opportunity. Nope, that's not it at all. It's psychological and structural. It's that men experience repeated rejection in such a short time frame, in addition to that lack of control over interactions and no real way to differentiate themselves once they get there. When those underlying costs are considered, it's easier to understand that removing the entry fee doesn't solve the problem at all. So I don't think that it's as simple as men having disappeared or stopped wanting to meet women. There are still plenty of guys out there who would like to meet a nice woman. The issue is that this, just like many other things that we have going on, different businesses, industries, education, everything is built around women and the way they operate. So that's the way everything is built, and men are expected to fit into it. So what we continue to see, even in these examples, is men opting out of manufactured social events and into spaces where they can engage on their own terms. But let me know what you think. Any guys out there been to one of these events? If you have been, let us know what it's like. And for those of you like me who are avoiding these events, what is your reason? Did I miss anything that would explain this better? Looking forward, as always, to your comments, and I'll be back soon.